Hey guys, thank you for listening to our stuff. We really do appreciate all the support that we've gotten over the past couple months since we've started in January. If you like our stuff, like, subscribe, check out our stuff on the other channels there. Make sure to subscribe to these guys as well. Oh, not subscribe. Follow them on Twitter and other platforms and everything. Yeah, you get it. Don't even worry about it. We're moving on.
Us. Yeah, follow us. Yeah.
Follow us now. Do it. But also had a really cool announcement that we wanted to kind of shout out. Friday nights we're doing live post games. Please join us. There's going to be some other Mariner content creators we had on from last week. We had one of our really good friends, Mariners Down Under from Straya. He ended up jumping on, and I think he's going to start jumping on a little bit more often, which will be awesome. So like, subscribe, follow, and then check us out on Friday nights. All right, welcome back to another episode of Speedo Torpedo. No, I'm joking. Up West Sports. We got episode 14. Ty, what episode is this?
That would be the Tino Martinez episode.
It is 14. The Tino Martinez episode. So we're excited. We're rolling. We're cruising. We got the we're a week into this dang thing. We're great. We got some cool stuff to talk over today. We're going to talk about the Tigers series, which could have been better, but left on a high note. And then bleeding into, we have the day off tomorrow, and then we got, by the time this drops, it'll be today. But then we got the Giant series that's coming up. We got some contracts that kind of dropped, and what does that mean for the Mariners, especially in relation to Logan Gilbert. But beyond that, Speedo Torpedo Bats kind of going around everywhere. Apparently, the Mariners, I've seen rumors that has been dropped in Seattle. So we're gonna touch on that for a second as well. Well, Ty, Kyle, we got some baseball stuff to talk. Let them know.
Baseball stuff. Alrighty, 7 games, 2 series, 3 and 4. It's not exactly 54%. It's kind of on the opposite side of that, but
45.
You're sitting 45. We're sitting there. We're right in the middle of this. And I'm a little shocked to see the Rangers with the bounce back that they had. I think it just comes right down to it. It's too early to look at stats. As much as we want to stare at it and go, wow, we've got, one guy that's qualified at this point batting over 200 and barely over 200. But if you look at some of the other stats, I think, you look at the on base. The on base actually isn't looking too bad. You've got a lot of guys with, I think I saw at least 3 guys with 5 walks. Slugging looks good. And again, our strikeouts, that's still an issue, still a massive issue. Ultimately, it's our ability to essentially, string hits together. A guy hits a double, guy walks, pop up, fly ball. They move him over to third, second, strikeout. Or bases loaded, pop up, infield fly rule, ground ball, double play. We can't get anything moving, and it's just. We're getting guys on base. That's very, indicative of just looking at, again, look at the on base. We're getting there. Our struggle is we're just not getting them over to home plate. Robles is starting to slide over home plate. It's, and then we're kind of the late inning. Okay, I guess we'll wake up now and try to score some runs, 7th inning to 9th inning. We're if we could play just the last third of a game, we'd be super dangerous. We probably would be undefeated by now. But unfortunately we played 9, not 3. But it's we just early. We kind of need to get going early and be able to just continue to move it. And if we need to start by literally manufacturing runs, you get a guy on first base. I don't care at this point. I don't care if you're Julio. Actually, this might help Julio. Bunt. Move a guy to second base. Let's just try to string somebody together, and see what we can do here. Because to me, that's been the biggest struggle for us this year. And really with this regime and the lack of hitting throughout a lineup is we can't string anything together.
What's funny? I want to point this out because I had to look it up. 3 wins and 4 losses. Do you know what the winning percentage is? 43%. I was pretty close. I was saying 45, which is the opposite of 54. Sorry, had to say that. Yeah, Ty, we actually did discuss on our last episode bunting, and like Mariners Twitter, Mariners media, Mariners fans are up in arms about the bunts and all that stuff. I think a good timely bunt is absolutely necessary, especially with guys that are struggling. It's definitely an old school approach. And I'm all for it, because if guys aren't going to be able to hit, you have to create chaos. You have to create something. If you're not going to hit, do something. Like, give us a chance. Give us a chance to win. And we also talked about this the other night on our episode. Bunting is so against the grain right now that you might actually see success from it, because third basemen aren't really preparing for that. They're probably not practicing it as much as they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're not seeing it as much in game. They're not thinking about it as much in game. They're also probably playing further back than most players, even from the 90s or early 2000s. Yeah, I think it works in your favor. Plus, a bunt for an out gives you a higher chance than a strikeout, which you don't know yet you're going to strike out. But the amount of times that the Mariners are striking out, it might behoove somebody just to bunt more so than just strike out. So just wanted to kind of bridge the gap from our last episode coming into this one. How do you move forward? Really, we do just need to find a way to put the bat on the ball. Ty, yeah, what are your thoughts from this past series?
Yeah, I guess to go along with that, there could be absolutely times where a situational bunt can help. And one of those times, I think, is, I'm not saying early, you have to do it in the early innings, but when you saw Jackson Jobe and Casey Mize starting to get into rhythms, it took them both a couple innings for them both to get into rhythms. But once they did, they started dictating the pace of the play. And I think that's an opportunity when you get a guy on base, even the threat of a bunt, right? Maybe you square around once on one pitch, just to remind the pitcher, hey, there can be things that I can take out of your control, right? And just gets in their head a little bit and reminds them that this is a sport, right? Where there's competition. It's not his place to dictate what's going on. And that sort of gives the hitter a little bit of extra. I think just a little bit of extra room. In chess, they call it tempo. Taking away the tempo from the other player, or gaining tempo yourself. And I think bunting can absolutely be one of those times you can do that. I don't think you want to be overdoing it. I do think it is almost always a guaranteed out. But like Gavin said, for the most part, generally speaking, it is a more productive out than strikeouts. Strikeouts are one of the least productive outs you can possibly have. It's only better than a double play. That's really it. So, and that is the other thing. So the strikeouts have got to go down for these Mariners. Like, I went back and I looked at it. The Major League average for this year is 22% strikeout rate so far. Almost all your starting Mariners are above that rate, except for JP and Victor Robles right now. Most guys are hovering 25 to 30%, and you got several guys hovering well above that. That cannot be the case. I understand several guys, if they've got, light tower power, if they're hovering that 30-35% strikeout rate. But when you've got 4, 5, 6 guys that are above 30% strikeout rate, that is a problem. I don't care if it's just 7 games. You cannot be striking out at 30% clips over a 7-game span. It's not going to win ball games,
especially at home. I mean, we opened this whole thing up in Seattle in front of your fans. Now, granted, I don't know if you guys got to see the crowd. Yeah, there's not as many fans, especially on a Wednesday afternoon. So, yeah, you didn't get to see a ton of fans after opening day. It did kind of dissipate since game 1, but yeah, create disruption. We talk a lot about the weaknesses, because there's always glaring weaknesses. And as fans, you're always going to pinpoint the weaknesses. What are some strengths that you guys have seen from this team? Obviously, probably going to be coming from the defensive side, pitching side, or if you guys have any strengths that you've seen from the hitters. I know Kyle, before we got started here, was talking a little bit about maybe OBP from some guys. But yeah, what have you guys seen strength-wise from this team over the past 7 games?
When they don't strike out, they hit the balls, and the ball. I mean, I know it's kind of a stupid, well, no duh. If you're not striking out, the ball's going somewhere else, right? I mean, again, you look at their on bases, they're walking. I mean, the averages aren't there, but they're putting the ball in play. I think and so now again, we talk about, and I think ultimately why people maybe don't like what's going on is everyone's focused on what is sexy about hitting, right? What there's all the commercials where chicks dig the long ball, well, that's great and all, but if you're a fan of baseball, you're a fan of a team, I like the guy getting on base. I don't care how you do it. And I think when we got guys walking at a high clip, I mean, we, like I said, we've got over 3. We've got 3 guys that have at least 5 walks. That's massive. Like, you can't score if you're not on base, right? And we don't have a ton of home run threats. At least we clearly don't have it at this point in time. So we have to get people on and hopefully, play the carousel and move them around. So while we are striking out a lot, I do like that we are, finding ways to get on base. It's the timely hitting that's what's killing us. Our timely hitting is atrocious. And honestly, that could be a bunt, and not bunting Polanco when all he's done is torn the cover off the ball and you've got no outs in first and second. Like, let the guy do what he's been doing so far and let him continue to do it. But I think the idea of a bunting, and I just don't think defense is valued also right now. I mean, we're not even valuing defense. We've got Jorge Polanco at third. And so bunting causes chaos. I know as a pitcher, the last thing I wanted to do if I was really pitching and I was in a groove is have to sprint off the mound and try to make a throw over to first base. And now I got to recollect myself, get back on the mound, remember, okay, where was I at? What's my pitch selection? Hey, what did I do this guy 2 at bats ago? Like, there's a lot that goes on. Now you got the catcher kind of fumbling through it. If we're going to be a team that's going to struggle to timely hit and kind of do this, we have to create chaos. We got to get a guy sprinting. Maybe he gets tired. I'm hoping that some of these guys are athletic enough not to get tired, but we just got to get people off the groove. Whether that's in Caballero, off in Tampa Bay. I thought some of the stuff, while annoying, I loved it. It was a great little bit of just trying to piss somebody off. And I think for the Mariners, if this is the team we've got, we kind of have to be that annoying little fly that just won't go away. Well, God, why are you here? Why are we doing this? What's going on? Like, essentially make them kind of teeter on being focused into the game and focused on why we're being so annoying. And so, and I kind of went off on a tangent there. My big thing is we're getting on base. We just are struggling to essentially move people along.
Yeah. Honestly, the Caballero one, you hit the nail on the head. I know Ty and I have had plenty of conversations about how much we liked Caballero. Just pesky. Pesky is one of those factors that you don't see a ton nowadays because it is more small ball-ish. It is more old school mentality. It's utilizing other things that aren't sexy about the game, or about what makes people attractive in the game of baseball. And it's getting inside someone's head. It's fouling off 8 pitches and then hitting a single up the middle. It's having the best eye at the plate. It's getting that extra 2 or 3 steps towards second base, but still being able to get back to first base when they pick over. It's little stuff like that changes it. And Caballero did it very, very well. As much as I really like Luke Raley, I would have loved to have them both, I guess. I'd love to have them both back because I think Caballero really was a disruptor. A disruptor was probably the best way for it, or pesky, or whatever you want to call it. He was one of those guys that he was the guy that I thought Abraham Toro was going to be. I thought Toro was going to be that guy that was kind of pesky, could leave the yard, but also, he was just getting on base all the time, stealing bags, doing all this other stuff. But Caballero ended up being that guy. Ty, what are your strengths that you've seen from this team over the past 7 games?
So I look back at the stolen bases so far. I think the Mariners are about 75% stolen base percentage as a team, which is what you want to be right about to be effective. About 75% clip. I think my numbers might start going up now that the bases are bigger and stolen bases are happening more often. But Shane Langoliers is not a good defensive catcher. We know he's a good hitter, supposed to be a good hitter, but he's historically not been a good catcher, and they ran all over him when they were on base. They ran all over him. Jake Rogers, much better catcher, right? He's known to be a defensive catcher, and they obviously struggled there. But I do like their aggressiveness over on the base paths. I know that there are going to be times you're going to be like you're running into outs because you're stealing bases, but I like the fact that they're threats. You can't just sit there and be one of the worst things at stealing bases, because then the pitcher's just got nothing to worry about, right? Even if you do run into an out on second base because you were aggressive, that's still gone to the pitcher's head. The fact that you're on first base and were a threat was still going to the mind of the guy on the mound, right, as he's making pitches. And so I like the aggressiveness so far. I think Dan's putting the pedal to the metal once they are on the base paths, and I do like that a lot so far.
Yeah, and that's a good call out. I do like how aggressive they've been. I like that they have more people to kind of get that ball rolling. I think beginning of the year last year, you didn't have a Rosarena, you didn't have Bliss, you didn't have some of these guys that could do that a lot. So it's nice to see that kind of come full circle and being able to have that extra tool to be able to kind of use and everything. Well, one thing I wanted to call out was the bullpen without having, some of our top guys. Brash is still out. Troy Taylor, by the way, just hit 99 in his first rehab stint back. Holy smokes. Excited to get him back, hopefully in the fold before April ends. Same with Matt Brash. But without having Brash and Taylor, for the most part, the bullpen has not been terrible. After Emerson Hancock's pretty bad outing, with 2/3 of the first inning. So for 8 1/3 innings, they only let up 2 runs, I believe, because Hancock let up 6. No, sorry, 3 runs, because it was a 9-6 game. So the bullpen had to staff it for the rest of that game, and they only gave up 3 runs, which commendable to them. Not bad for being able to. You had to come in the first inning. No one's expecting that. So not bad. But beyond that, Trent Thornton's really the only one I've kind of like, I wouldn't go to him late in the game if it's close right now, and they've done it several times, and it's not quite going the way you want it to go with Trent Thornton. But also, as soon as you get Taylor back, as soon as you get Brash back, Trent Thornton is an important piece of this bullpen. You just need to use him correctly, and he'll get his spot back. And I think if you start throwing him in the, if you need somebody in the 5th, or if he needs an extender in the 6th or 7th, I think that's where he's going to really thrive and be that more so innings eater and be able to go in lesser pressure situations. But the bullpen, I got to give a shout out to them. Minus Hancock, the pitching staff was also 4 guys have been doing pretty good. Minus Logan Gilbert's snafu start the other day, kind of went on the other side of it from his first start, but you add them 2 together, he's still doing pretty good. And we all know what Logan Gilbert is capable of. So pitching staff in general, but definitely the bullpen, wanted to give them a shout out. We got the Giants coming up here. We got a day off, and then we got the Giants coming into town. What is this series? What are you guys thinking about this series? What's your guys' thoughts? I think we got Jordan Hicks that's going to be on the mound at some point. That'll be fun. Did we see? Was it Verlander? Is Verlander on the mound? That'll be fun.
Looks like Verlander and Robbie Ray.
Verlander and our hometown hero. Wish we had Mitch Haniger to face him. Just wish we had Mitch Haniger to face him. It's like, no, I don't. Love Mitch Haniger, but Robbie Ray, that'll be interesting. Jordan Hicks is doing pretty good this year, and then Verlander, who's he's a wild card, but he's also playing the Mariners, so he could go 8 innings and 15 Ks. It's Verlander. You never know. What are you guys' thoughts going into this series?
I guess the first thing I want to address is Robbie Ray coming back. I know that he's got a pretty good relationship with the other pitchers, all the young guys going back to before he got traded away. I know he was considered a leader in that clubhouse, and that he put off his surgeries so he could travel with the team that season and stay with the pitching staff and help mentor them, which I thought was really impressive. So, him coming back, I know that a lot of Mariners fans see him in a negative light. I hope he gets a warm welcome from at least his former teammates before the game, but the dude is still in 70% fastballs right now. So I hope they absolutely tee off on him. And his slider, when you look at the Savant page, is not moving. So I don't know what to expect out of him right now. It's like you said with Verlander, he'd go out there throw 8 innings, 15 Ks. He'd go out there throw 2 innings, give up 7 runs. It can be any version of Justin Verlander. With Robbie Ray, I kind of wonder, like, is he? I don't hate to use the word washed, but I feel like he's
Over
no
the
longer
hill.
worth the contract for sure.
Yeah.
But boy, I'm not sure I'd even want him as my number 4 or number 5 anymore at this point. And then the Jordan Hicks, geez Louise. I mean, you're gonna have to deal with that somehow. But I mean, look what the Mariners did today with Skubal, so you never know.
Yeah, right. It's so indicative of the Mariners to do what they've done in the first 2 games of a series, and then have to face Tarek Skubal with not Logan Gilbert. Right, the matchups weren't quite 1v1, and come out with a win. Luis Castillo, hats off. Wanted to give him a shout because he had an absolute incredible game. We had a little bit of roller coaster Rodney with Andres Munoz today, but we're able to get out of it. So that was awesome. But yeah, one thing I've never really understood is I guess if there is animosity, because I haven't seen too much on Twitter, but if there's anybody out there that's a Mariners fan that's got some hate in their heart for Robbie Ray, or just like disappointed with him as a Mariner, understand that we had Drew Smiley. Can you just understand that we had Drew Smiley that didn't pitch a single inning as a Mariner, had Tommy John, and then left and said thank you, but no thanks. But hats off to Drew Smiley. I have no hate in my heart for Drew Smiley either, because he went out and pitched for his country, which was commendable, and it was awesome. And they won the World Baseball Classic that year. So I it is what it is.
He left it on the field, just the wrong field.
He left his arm on the field. He left a ligament on the field. I'll tell you that much. But no, it's just I don't understand that. I welcome him with open arms back in Seattle for sure. I hope Robbie Ray finally. I hope he figures it out. Not against Mariners, but I hope
we hear
forward.
Some great grunts.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to, and you're going to see a lot of that. That's coming back into T-Mobile. Don't you worry about it. I still remember I had just moved down here in Arizona, and Robbie Ray was just signed. Got to meet him at this church event. It was actually pretty cool, but then got to see him throw in his first spring training game. And I was sitting right behind home plate. I ended up paying the extra like $5. I don't know. It was like $25 to sit behind home plate. And I heard the grunt. Because I was like, oh, it seems kind of loud when you hear it on TV, but when you sit behind home plate, it's and it's every bit of it.
Oh, that's great. That's yeah.
Awesome. Kyle, what are your thoughts heading into this series?
So, I mean, you kind of look at it. I think when it comes to the 3 pitchers we're going to face, we have a lot of familiarity. One, we faced, Verlander tons of times, and I feel like we've gotten the best out of him. We got the best of him the last few starts. Robbie, obviously, we haven't really seen him since he left us. But I think with a very heavy lineup of righties, maybe it's a breakout for a couple guys. And then Jordan Hicks, dude's filthy. Dude's a stud, but we somehow rise to the occasion and go after those guys. Come on, Ty. I'm in the middle of a bit here. No, but yeah. So with Jordan,
we're gonna leave that in.
Those things. It's just one of those things that I don't. I'll maybe my statement doesn't age very well, but I just feel good about how we go. We usually we do well against those guys. I think Ty mentioned earlier, we make threes look like ones, but we make ones look like threes. So let's see what happens. I'm looking at kind of what they've got going on reliever wise. Their back end rotation is pretty solid. It's looking pretty good. Verlander had a pretty good start. Robbie Ray, not so good of a start. Both high strikeout performances for both of them. 4 or 5 strikeouts over. They're about averaging close to a strikeout an inning. Now probably inflate that with our team currently with our woes at the plate with strikeouts, but as long as I think if the Mariners just keep doing what they're doing, which is getting on base, but we just can maybe, again, with our staff, we just need to string together, 3 hits 3 times, give them 3 runs, maybe, and then we get a timely home run in the 8th inning and get us 4 runs. Maybe it's a 2-run bomb. It's 5 runs. We just need to get those, string that stuff along. And I think we need to kind of be a gambler early on in the game, steal more, take the risk. Because at this point, we had a guy on first base. He got thrown out at second. Well, I mean, at this point, you guys are going bases loaded with no outs and not scoring a single person. So at what point does it matter? Let's create some chaos. Let's get some people moving. Maybe that causes the pitcher to make a mistake that we can take out of the yard. But at this point, until we've got guys that are just bona fide, hitters, we gotta kind of, get people out of their kind of mindset of, okay, this is my game plan today. I'm going to hit these spots. The stat, my report says go after these people. And sure, maybe that's what they're still doing, but they're not thinking about it fully because they're, oh God, I got this guy on first base. He could steal at any time. Hey, they might lay down a bunt. Like, hey, scouting reports out the door. So overall, just continue to work on getting on base. But then I would say right now, let's be a little bit riskier. Let's see if that bunt, Robbie sends one of the bleachers trying to field a bunt, or whoever their catcher is today, sends one into center field and that puts Bliss on third, stuff like that. Just kind of create some we want to manufacture runs. Let's manufacture chaos.
Yeah, I think Joey Bart, I think, is their catcher.
He's in Pittsburgh.
It's the other catcher. They were both drafted like back Patrick Bailey. That's the other one.
Yeah, Pat Bailey. Yeah.
Pat Bailey, which funny enough, that's
Bart was supposed to be the predecessor to Posey, but did not work out.
Yeah, and he's actually I think last year he ended up doing pretty well. But he just had it was just one of a change of scenery for him to kind of figure things out, and good for him. But also wanted to give a shout out heading into this Giant series. The Couch GM, if you're not following him, make sure to give him a follow. He's actually a good friend of mine from college. Him and I started. It was Dylan Howe that started it, but we were also part of the very first, and it just kind of gathering everybody for the club baseball team at Wazoo. But Connor Webb, who runs the Couch GM, had a very cool interview with Ryan Walker, who went to Wazoo. So if you're out there listening, definitely check that out. Ryan Walker for the San Francisco Giants is pretty good. If you don't know who that is, you're about to this weekend. He's going to be good. You're bound to see him at least once, if not twice. Throws across his body, has one of the nastiest sliders I've seen. So it's very Ottavino-esque, just not quite that low of an arm slot. But his slider runs for days. So excited to see this team. I think my prediction, I guess, going into this series, it's going to be low scoring the entire series. I think it's going to be like a 5-3, 4-3, 2-1 type of series. I think that's the type of series. And we could be on the losing end of all 3 games, but I think it's going to be a good pitching duel matchup all 3 games. That's my prediction for that. It just looks like both teams are kind of in the same boat, with the hitters are slowly but surely getting into the season. But the pitchers kind of have the upper hand. You're also playing in the marine layer. You're also playing in cold. Just everything kind of running together. It just kind of spells for a low scoring pitchers weekend. Much rather. So I can't predict the wins, but I can predict, or my prediction would be probably more low scoring than anything else for the weekend. That was.
I want to point out one more thing to watch out for this series is Jung-Hoo Lee's coming.
Oh, that's
the guy
right.
idolizes Ichiro, but I don't know that there will be any interaction there because Ichiro hates Korea. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. That should be interesting. But if he is probably the closest thing you have to a modern day Ichiro. Guy has an absolute cannon out there in the outfield. He's probably not as fast as Ichiro was in his prime, but he's got some wheels. He's not slow. And he's not going to take walks. He's not going to strike out a lot because he's got great bat to ball skills and he loves putting the ball in play. And you could throw something down by his ankles, he's going to swing at it, and he has a decent chance of putting the bat on the ball. So just keep an eye. He's fun to watch. He's a pretty fun personality. I think the Mariners fans will get to know him a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully Ichiro. Yeah, go ahead.
I had one for both of you. Just thinking about it, kind of the marine layer, kind of just this kind of lull. When do you think Dan Wilson goes, because he's kind of a laid back guy, right? When does he go, I gotta go Lou on this thing and get the guys riled up and get out there and just start dropping the F-bombs? Maybe not even because it's right, but it's like, hey, I gotta get something going because we're in a lull.
Who's to say he hasn't already? For those out there that don't know who Augie Garrido is, Augie Garrido is the famous University of Texas head baseball coach that's known for blowing up and causing chaos in the locker room. And then you'll see that they go like 12-0 and win the national championship and stuff like that. With a guy like Dan Wilson, even though he is laid back, I'm pretty sure there's some of that FU in him and some of that little bit old school mentality where it's like, hey guys, you've had 7 games, get your head out of your asses. Let's go hit. Our pitchers are pitching their what's off. Hitters, you got to step up. Let's go. I can totally see that part coming. And just from, Kyle, you've played, above high school and everything like that. Just from our days in college, if you don't have that a little bit, right, when the time calls for it, if you don't have that, it's very difficult to move forward because sometimes you need that push. You need a little bit of FU coming from somebody. Maybe it's Cal, maybe it's Dan, maybe it's somebody. But if it doesn't come from Dan first, I think that there's another storm coming. Is the best way to put it.
It sounds bad, and Winker, for as poor as he did in Seattle, there's no doubt our team changed after that fight. Our team changed. They finally came together. And I've heard that this team's getting close. And I get we're 7 games in. I'm just kind of looking at what is the mentality of this team? Because, we've heard, they're all good buddies, this and that. Well, as a pitcher, there are times where you kind of even though you're buddies, you're still you're working towards a common goal. And sometimes you know what, dude? Stop taking pitches and hit the effing ball. I'm tired of going out there knowing that if I give up a run, I'm screwed today. Get your head out of your ass and let's play. And some of these guys, I think like a Cal, while he's, dumper, he's kind of got that, FU mentality. You can kind of see he's in his head. I think someone like not a Castillo, maybe a Kirby, just going, dude, get your head out of your ass and let's play. I think that lights a fire in that dude and he goes off. I think JP is the same way. I just think if it's not going to come from Dan, maybe it's a Rose Arena, but we get tossed for one game. I know it's early. We have enough people to cover you, but let's get this mojo going now. And if it's at home, our fans, when they're involved, that is an environment. I think we've all been there when that environment's pretty, it's pretty intense. That's a huge element that sometimes I don't think we utilize enough because we don't think we have that kind of, I don't know, just kind of, we kind of have to get ignited. And unfortunately, we're not setting that flame where a Dan Wilson doing a Lou Piniella rendition, that get me going. I mean, that get the fans going. So
there's something to be said about what you said about Jesse Winker, because I know we've had that conversation multiple times. For all the stuff that he's done that comes off super negative. He is a spark plug. You do need a spark plug to some degree. Now there's you want a guy like that you can pull the reins back, say, hey, we don't do that. But the fight in LA against the Angels, yes, that sparked something, and you need some of that because he was standing up for Julio, and he was a good team guy. And I don't know, it may have ruffled some feathers down the road with some other things in the locker room, or at least that's the rumors. I have no idea if that actually is true. So, but you need somebody like that. You need a spark plug. You need somebody to put you back on the path, to boost you up, basically. And I'm hoping Dan has that, and I think he does. It's just, I think he might be one of those guys that's behind the scenes. Another person I wanted to bring to the table, Ty. I know I brought this guy up probably like 2 weeks ago in a conversation. Lloyd McClendon, for as good or bad of a manager as you want to claim him to be, that guy was a spark plug, and he would get tossed out of any game just to get things going. I appreciate that, and it also, like, as a fan, right? It gets you going, like, oh, all right, let's go. We got something going on. It's 8-0, but we still got something going on, No, there's a time and a place to do it, but something, just something to get the focus back and stuff like that. But yeah, Ty,
if things are
thoughts?
still this slow, I wonder if Rowdy Tellez doesn't take it under himself to get ejected.
Right.
Get rowdy with Rowdy. Love it.
Yeah.
Let's do
Rowdy
it.
with Rowdy.
There's a
Well,
t-shirt.
I mean, he's that kind of a guy.
t-shirt.
He's known
That's
to
a
be that
t-shirt.
kind of a glue guy, kind of do things in the locker room to keep guys focused, kind of, but also keep the mood sort of light. He's known to be a kind of a fireball at times when he's not getting pitches too. So like, one bad CB Buckner outing, and all of a sudden, who knows,
Yeah, where's Angel Hernandez when you need him?
Oh man, right?
No, actually, you know what? And I don't speak negatively on too many people, but Angel Hernandez, sayonara. I know you're probably the nicest guy off the field, but Jesus Christ, dude, on the field, you had a bigger ego than any player I've ever seen. So no,
In a little league strike
sayonara.
zone.
Yes, little league strike zone, and it was how you were feeling that day, because sometimes it was 2 inches off the plate, and sometimes it was right down the middle wasn't a strike. So had to give some Angel Hernandez shade right there. Had to throw that in, because if there's one person besides maybe Zach Hampel that people in baseball maybe don't like, it's, if you don't know who Zach Hampel is, he's the guy that sits in the stands and he gets, there we go. We're back. We're back.
If you see Zach Hampel, tackle him and beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope that's recorded in live. That's not a live threat, but like, he is a piece of junk.
Yes.
So now
that we got the hate out,
man.
now that we got the hate out, I don't know how anybody supports him. He's just, I don't know. He's a different cat. He's just not the guy I'd invite out to grab a beer. But anyways, to get us back on track, we got contracts to talk about. There's all these contracts that are going left and right. What does that spell for Logan Gilbert? What does that spell for guys that are getting close to that contract area? Because I think George Kirby might be a year behind, so he may not be somebody that we're really focusing on getting a contract to. I think Logan Gilbert really is that big piece. He's the biggest player. He is the closest to the end of ARB that we're focusing on. You can argue Randy Rosarena, because I think they're both 2027 to end their ARBs. But I, in all honesty, I think you're looking at Logan Gilbert. He's homegrown. He's the ace of your staff. He had the most innings in the game. When's the last time someone threw 200 strikeouts on the Mariners? He did it. So yeah, looking at these contracts, what do you guys think a contract looks like surfacing either middle of the year, as Ty had talked about earlier, or maybe bleeding into next year at some point? What does that look like, seeing all this stuff kind of shake down?
I think you kind of I would say wait until the All-Star break. If he's an All-Star, I wouldn't be shocked if it happens within a week or two of that. If it's shaky, maybe towards the off season. But I mean, I would say it's going to be mid-season. I think, again, trying to be respectful of Cal and what he's doing, what he's got. I mean, you kind of look at what happened last year. They gave Julio his deal, and then I think the next big deal after that was Robles. So that kind of happened. Now again, we got him later on in the year, but I'm hoping mid-season. Let him get. Let him kind of do his thing. You kind of assess it, and then go from there. I think Kirby. Let's see how I would say he's no earlier than this offseason. I mean, he's hurt right now. You kind of have to see what he's going to do. Is he going to come back and be able to pitch, all of his starts from this point on? Is it lingering? And then also just, the fact that, Gilbert's kind of he was your, opening day starter. He wants to be here. Kirby, we've heard lots of things where he might not want to be here. So could you potentially be looking at, he might be the guy that's like, hey, if you want to be here, let's make a deal. But if you're on the fence of it, let's not waste our time and let's work on a trade deal at that point. But for Logan, I don't think you're seeing any. If Crochet's getting what he got 170 right over 6 years, something like that.
Yeah,
was that what the numbers were?
You got a big one.
170
so what's
over
Gilbert?
6, yeah.
Because Gilbert's what 26?
He's 28.
28. So
27, almost 28. 27, almost 28, I believe.
So for him, what do you think? You're probably giving him what 8 years over? What 8 years? Probably 2.
Yeah,
Maybe
because you got to give him
a team option.
He's more pronounced than Garrett Crochet because Garrett Crochet went from starter to reliever back to starter, and he blew up last year and he got traded from the White Sox and everything, but he didn't really hit the ground running until last year. He was good, and I think he was good out of the pen, but once they made this switch, he has less tenure of excellence, I guess is the best way to put it. He has less tenure of excellence than Logan Gilbert does. So with him getting 170 over 6, yeah, you're looking at something a little
8 and 2,
a little shinier, a little
8 year,
shinier.
200.
But here's the combatant that I think Jeff Passan made a good tweet on. Just with the 2027 CBA coming up, there's a really big chance for a lockout, and a lot of these guys are probably looking at nailing down a contract before then, because we just had one not too long ago in the last CBA, and we were locked out of how long we were locked out in the offseason? It was like 3 months, because wasn't it? Yeah, it was quite a while, and no one could do anything. And
this season didn't almost like a week.
What's that?
Right? Didn't it push opening day back?
Yeah, I think it took a couple days, or might even taken a whole week off of pushing opening day back and everything.
Yeah.
So, with that in lieu of 2027, do you scramble on either side? Do we overpay to keep him? Does he take a lesser deal to stay, just so he knows he's locked up past the CBA?
Probably the best comp I can make to Logan Gilbert as far as production wise, I'm not saying stuff or performance or anything like that, or velo, but to me, as far as like his numbers of production, he's almost Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola signed I think it was like a $25 million a year contract back in the day. I don't know how well that's aged as far as what he would get today. I think it'd probably be more like between like 28 to 30 million a year if it were today. I mean, as far as his production, the contract has aged well, but I would say he, relative to his peers, he's severely underpaid. When you look at his buddy over there, Zach Wheeler, is making $42 million a year, right? So my thought is that Logan's probably somewhere in the middle there, probably 30 with 31 million a year at the peak of that contract. So yeah, I mean, my thought is you might be looking at close to like 820, 8,230, 8,240. If you want to lock him up.
But that's hard because then you're assuming you're pitching to 36, where it's like, hey, we're going to give you we're going to give you an 8-year deal now. Takes out 2 years of arbitration that we could pay you 10, maybe 10, 12 at most.
Well, just
so hey,
just
we'll
know
give you.
Jerry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying, hey, we're going to give you so let's say you're paying him 10 mil arbitration and then 12 mil the next year. So that's 22 million. We're going to give you 50. So we're going to give you 28 million more now and then 25 across the board for the next 6. Like at the end of the day, it's a pretty good deal because you essentially be trying to go to the market as a 30-year-old and then you're trying to say, okay, now you're getting 100 million. But again, we're asking you for 8 and 2. So you're guaranteed $200 million. And if we end up cutting you or you get released or whatever, you're still getting that 200 million. So it's like the sooner you can get that 200 mil, which right now I think if you look at comps is not a bad number. No. Take it, run with it.
Yeah. And I was also going to say,
that's a great number for both sides. Anywhere between about 2 to 250 is a great number.
Great number, but also just knowing Jerry and the way he structures his contracts that are more long term. There's probably going to be escalators and or stopgaps somewhere along the way, right? There's a buyout after year 4. There's a buyout after year 6. Stuff along those lines, or the buyout. I'm used to the hockey contracts. Options. There's either a team option or a player option. There's going to be a no trade clause. There's going to be some other stuff that are sprinkled in there. But I think it's going to be it's not going to be a clear-cut number. I think it's going to be, if we have him for 8 years, then yes, it'll be 200 plus. Whatever that number ends up being, then it is what it is. But I think there's going to be so many stopgaps, kind of like the Julio contract. I think there's team options and player options that are both in there after every couple of years. I think that's going to be very laden with that, at least to kind of kick things off. And I think who knows, man, they could be structuring that thing right now, but because it's so tiered, kind of like the Julio contract, it could take 6 months to just kind of think that thing over and making sure you got it right. And then waiting until if he's a potential all-star this year, like Kyle, like you had said, and then adding in an incentive, like if you're an all-star, here's an extra, million, or here's an extra 1.5. And here's, if we make the postseason, we'll give you this. Or if if you're a finalist in Cy Young, you get this. Those are the incentives I think that will be wrapped around his contract, kind of moving forward. But I think he has to be the next person that you're targeting for a long-term extension. And if there's one thing that you could say nice about this management, front office and above with ownership, is that they have proven to pay their in-house guys. As soon as you're on the team, no matter how you got there, more so drafted and developed. But if you're traded and you got there, or if you're there and you're good, they look to reward you. And I'm really hoping that something gets nailed down long-term before CBA, before that. And I'm hoping that you have at least Cal and Logan to move forward with past 2027 on a long-term contract, along with Julio, I should say. And I forgot Victor Robles' contract. Was it post? Was it just 2 years? Was it 3 years or
2 years? It was like a 2-year deal.
Oh, that's right. It was a 2-year deal.
Off of whatever it was.
That's right. That's right. It was. I was trying to jog my memory on what that looked like. Well, so I mean that's the contract situation. Logan Gilbert's really the high leverage circling about one. You could probably talk about maybe some relievers like Munoz, maybe looking at a different contract past his date, but I think that's more for down the road. Wanted to kind of switch gears over to Torpedo Bats. We wanted to at least pepper this one in, boys. I know we're way behind the ball. Everyone was talking about it last weekend, but we're gonna surface it because there's some rumors around that the Mariners are getting some Torpedo Bats. I think it was per Adam Jude, saying that there's going to be some Torpedo Bats. Do you guys kind of equate this a little bit? Not morally, but just same platform as like taking steroids, right? Like, is that kind of where we're at with this? Is that steroids don't make you hit the ball? Steroids don't make you hit the ball, flat out. They just don't make you hit the ball. Torpedo Bats, they don't make you hit the ball. It's
not going to fix swing and miss.
It's not going to fix swing and miss, and you see a huge swing and miss to this game. Overall, I think it is a good thing. I think it's a good thing to talk about in baseball because people are talking about baseball and these torpedo bats, but B, this game has been so pitcher driven and defensive driven for the past 10 years that it's nice to see something kind of shift, and have these 20-run games that are from the Yankees. But I mean, it's at least 20-run games. People are talking like there's something offensively proactive that's happening, I guess is what I'll say about that. But again, it doesn't make you hit the ball. It just I don't know the science behind it. I can't speak on that behalf, but maybe it gives that warning track power an extra foot or two every now and then. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
I guess I should maybe take back my statement on that. Where it's not going to eliminate swing and miss. There may be times where there's a foul ball that went down the line that maybe it helps straighten that out, or maybe you slice something hard that now turns into a double down the line. Maybe it does help you cut back on the swing and miss a little bit. It doesn't help you see the ball better. It doesn't help you make swing decisions. It just helps you when you do make contact with that sweet spot close to your hands. That's it, right? Like I have no problem with the bat at all, in my opinion. Like be as innovative as you can be within the rules. Like figure out what you can do and be innovative. But like I'm a little confused why the Mariners are a little bit late to the game. I've been seeing since this story's been out. I've been seeing that players been using this bat for several years now, and to different levels of success. But it sounds like the Mariners are just now bringing in some bats to test, and it feels like that's a little bit late to the game, like we kind of are. So that
right on
raises
par.
a little bit of questions, a little bit in the innovation department, in my opinion.
Yeah, Kyle, I got a question for you, directly related to this. Your brother's at Gonzaga, playing baseball there. Has there been any talk about getting the torpedo bats for this summer, as they get into summer baseball? Because I'm curious on the trickle down effect, because it's now surfacing at the top level. Is it like that surfacing down to the college level? I don't know if you've heard anything or anything like that.
I haven't heard anything. And again, a lot of those leagues, some of them are different. Some of them are metal. Some of them are wood. It all kind of depends. It just kind of, it's not all those college leagues are all wood bats. So, and then obviously college is all metal. So there's no metal torpedo bat. But so there could be a trickle down, but ultimately I kind of look at it as, I can see the Mariners not really caring about it at the time, because their problem isn't that they're missing home runs by a couple feet. And if I would have had 2 inches of sweet spot a little bit lower, my jam would have flew. So with the Yankees and their stadium, yeah, I think it's a huge difference. A 5 feet matters to them just because of how that field is designed and how the ball kind of carries. And as long as the barrel of the bat, is what, I think the max was some like 2 5/8 inches diameter is like the max major league number. At least I know that's for a lot of the other bats. That was always like the max barrel size. It really doesn't matter whether it's at the very tip of the bat or at the very middle of the bat. It's whatever. But one, it's the Yankees. So of course, if the Yankees come up with something innovative, it's a problem, right? Because they're the Yankees. It's like if the Mariners figured it out, you would have thought they were geniuses. But at the same time, you'd say, oh, that's unfair. Because how can we allow a bad team to be good now? So it's kind of the inverse of one another. You could have a bad team come up with it and it's a problem, or a really good team have it as the Yankees and it's a problem. So maybe the Rays should have figured it out and that would have been okay, because they're right in the middle. They're Switzerland. Everyone loves them. No one's mad at them. But to me, it also tells me, okay, where's that barrel move down? Okay, you're moving that barrel lower to your hand. So traditionally, you jam a lot, or the way you swing, the barrel typically is, you're getting that ball a little further in the barrel. Great. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to live on the outside of the corner all goddamn day, and you're not going to have any bat there. So when you have a normal bat where a Texas leaguer happens, now that's a broken bat, or it's a little dribbler to the infield. So thanks. You've now given me a scouting report on where I should throw you. So again, it's been 7 games, 8 games, so little sample size. No, I mean, it's like a new rookie quarterback. oh my God, through 3 games, he's amazing. Wait till someone gets tape on him and we'll see how he plays. Same concept here. And again, it sounds like torpedo bats have been used for years. So whether, maybe these bats were a little more customized, maybe a little bit better in how they were developed, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's a problem. I mean, we talk about baseball. It's kind of an ebb and flow of baseball's going to make the pitcher have the advantage. Okay, it's too much of an advantage. Now we got to help the hitters out. And it's this back and forth, and they keep trying to mess with the game. And we've talked about it. Stop trying to mess the game up so you can appease the 1%ers. Like, just let it go for the 99%ers. At the same time, though, baseball should be innovative. You should be able to come up with things that are maybe not, we don't have to live in the same rules as we did 100 years ago. So if this bat being a little bit different is something that people like, maybe it's a better balance for them. Maybe it helps them bring the bat through. I mean, no one made a fuss when the axe handle came through or the puck handle came through. So why are we complaining about this? It's really no different. As long as the barrel doesn't really move in size, it just essentially the barrel goes from here to here. So
I'd be curious on the exit velo. Again, I don't know the science behind this. I didn't do my research. I'll be the first one to tell you. So I'd be curious on the science behind it. If the exit velo off of this bat is different, or if it's just different if it's hitting lower if it hits the same part of the barrel as the other bats, it's getting more because the middle of the barrel is lower. If that's the only difference, then yeah, it's not going to change anything. Also, it's not going to change anything for the Mariners because they can't get the ball out of the other team's catcher's glove. It just stays right in the catcher's glove. It doesn't come out from there. Had to pepper in a joke. Sorry, Mariners, I love you. That's why we do this podcast. We love you. But kind of wanted to get into final thoughts for the day. As we get out of this Tiger series, as we get into this Giant series, and we've had a lot of negativity, we've had a lot of criticism. What are you most excited for? Let's end it on a good note. What are you most excited for heading into the Giant series? But beyond that, what are you most excited for heading into the rest of the season? Kyle, we can start with you.
I think for me, it's seeing, I think Polanco really being potentially was misadvertised early on. And we thought, okay, we're not getting a good version of him. Okay, there's reports he hasn't been healthy in the last year and a half. And you're kind of seeing the bat skills really there. His legs are underneath him. While the third base is a little bit of a journey right now, especially with that little Raul Ibanez rendition he pulled off. He looks comfortable at the plate. He's got power at the plate, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I could really see him moving. I could see him moving towards a DH position permanently and kind of being that fixated DH. Maybe sprinkled in with a couple infield positions, but I'm looking forward to seeing how his bat starts to translate for this lineup. And honestly, I've liked Bliss, and I hope to see Bliss. I want to see Bliss have a shot where it's not, okay, we're going to platoon you. Give the dude 20 games and let him run. And if it's not working out, it's not working out. I think between him and Moore, he's just got more upside. He's better on the bases. He's got more range. And Dylan being someone who can play just about every position, I'd rather him be more available for the late inning, swap, wherever that may be.
Yeah. And there's a lot to like, right? Like there's a lot of stuff just festering, building up. I'm not going to say we're a volcano because I don't think we're that eruptive at the dish with our sticks, but we're somewhat dormant. That could really bust open, and it's not going to be by a lot of home runs. I don't think we have anybody that's going to hit 40 bombs this year. Call me crazy. I don't think we're going to have anybody that hits 40 bombs, but we're going to have a lot of guys that can really step up and can really provide run production. Ty, I wanted to kick it over to you. What are you excited about moving forward?
got to be the pitching staff, right? Like, you know, you still don't have Kirby back, but the four guys who went out there so far, aside from Hancock, they've all gone out and dealt so far, right? I mean, you've had some suboptimal outcomes, but all in all, they've kept you in every game so far, as far as the starters, except for that one outing by Hancock. So, you know, I think the thing that I get most excited about is still just Kirby coming back, getting healthy, Brash coming back, being healthy, Taylor coming back and being healthy, and I think that can not only provide a little bit of spark once that pitching staff is fully back together. I think that might give the team a little bit of a pick me up maybe once Kirby comes off the IL, and maybe even Brash too, and hopefully that kind of just helps lift them up, maybe gets the bats going a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And that's honestly, that was going to be I'm using the cop out here. That was actually going to be mine that I'm most excited about, is getting those pitchers back, and just seeing the improvement and getting guys pitching in the right spots that they need to be. Because yeah, I think we can all argue where Trent Thornton fits into this bullpen, but he fits in this bullpen. Make no mistake about it. I am a Trent Thornton fan. I like what he's doing, just not how we're using him right now. Once we get these guys back, Trent Thornton's going to be great in the innings that he needs to be, in the leverages that he needs to be set in. But also, yeah, kind of beyond that, the prospects that are waiting in the wing. We talked about it on Wednesday night. Ben Williamson made an amazing Chipper Jones-esque play at third base. And, if there's, a guy like Miles Mastroboni ends up, getting the DFA, or if Rowdy Tellez or Donovan Solano don't end up being that guy, and Brandon Williamson ends up being that guy that gets the call up, well, now you're looking at another route of Polanco and being able to kind of utilize their base for Ben Williamson. So I'm excited. I guess I'll piggyback off a tie with the bullpen and with everybody coming back, the pitching staff in general, but also what's to come next from the guys that if they were on the team right now, leaving spring training, where they would be right now. The other person is Casey Legumina. I have to give him a shout out again. I know I did it at the end of spring training. He's another guy. If somebody goes down, or you need another guy, I'm excited to see what he can do at the major league level. Well, Pro Boy Sports, that's going to do it for us today. Just remember, life's too short. Gas up your boys. But actually, first, hold up. Let's see if I can do it right. We got Kyle. We got Ty. Holy smokes, we're doing it right. I love it. All right. Just remember, life's too short. Gas up your boys.